If only I hadn't touched him that night. If we hadn't crossed paths with the gorgeous Korean mob boss, maybe our fate would have been different, or maybe not. Now, I'm trapped. If you love fast-paced stories, clingy male lead, icy Korean boss, Korean romance stories, then this is for you. Please sit tight and while watching, leave us a comment, share, and subscribe on our channel. One thing Hannah never regretted was coming to Seoul. It all happened so fast when her auntie invited her to come visit and take care of her children. Hannah agreed because she had no job in Nigeria and wouldn't mind the short trip, but another thing she never expected was getting missing as soon as she arrived, stranded and left to live on her own while trying to find her auntie, even though it seemed impossible. It's been 2 months since Hannah had arrived in Seoul. Not only had she lost hope in search, she had learned to live on her own through working part-time menial jobs in cafe and restaurant. These were the only ways for her to pay her house rent and remain stable in the city. But everything changed one evening when Hannah was coming back from work. Hannah walked down the dimly lit street, exhaling and feeling so stressed. She had worked overtime again because she needed extra cash. What will I eat tonight? She questioned herself aloud, but all that was in her mind apart from food was having a warm bath and going to bed. Help! Just then, a sharp masculine voice startled her. Hannah flinched as she looked back in front, wondering where the voice came from. She was so scared because she was the only one on the street and knew if something would have happened, she would be the victim. She was still in her trance when the voice came up again. Help me. Then, Hannah carefully followed the voice until it led to a side path. A handsome young man, dark brown primed hair, sharp chin, broad shoulder, leaned on the wall, breathing heavily. Even at night, Hannah could see his striking features and was lost at it for a while until his voice came up again. Hey, his voice was rough and crack. Are you okay? She asked as she rushed over to him, kneeling beside him. He was bleeding and it looked like a stab injury. Hannah quickly tore off the part of his clothes to clearly see the injury when he grabbed her hand. Their eyes met. His eyes were dark, sharp, and filled with desperation. His exhausted yet heavy breathing filled the air. Do you know what you are doing? He asked with a sharp grunt, and she pulled her hand away. At least you won't die, she muttered. Hannah opened her portable school bag and brought out a small first aid kit. Because of the nature of her job, she moved around with it as she sometimes encountered burnt and other domestic injuries. The stranger closed his eyes, looking weak as Hannah cleaned his injury, treated him, and bandaged him. With a deep sigh, she turned facing him. You are lucky I met you. You wouldn't have lasted for any minute because the wound was deep, she commented, shaking her head. Thank you for saving my life. I owe you. He whispered, but she didn't seem to care. She grabbed her bag and advanced to stand upright when he grabbed her. Again, their eyes met, both anxious and weak. Don't tell anyone about this, he said in what sounded like a whispering tone, and she scoffed. Who knows me? It's not like you are some criminal. She took a few steps forward, then paused. Visit the hospital, or better still clean the spot every day so it doesn't get infected. With that, Hannah continued her way down the path, yawning heavily. She had just used the last strength she had in saving that stranger. The bustling street of Seoul took turns with workers and individuals focusing on their activities. Morning broke in a certain mansion as the stranger sat in his desk, thinking deeply. One look at his face, it was certain he didn't have any sleep last night. Across from him was his assistant, Jean. Boss, I investigated what you asked, Jean said courteously as the stranger looked up at him. Is she related to my brother or anyone around me? He asked, raising an anxious brow. Boss, she isn't our kind, Jean said, and the stranger's face furrowed. What do you mean? Then, Jean handed over the tablet to him, which he took a look at while rubbing his chin. An African? Then, why can't I? He hadn't finished his statement when Jean interrupted him. Boss, why can't you do what? That was utterly Jin's nature, and the stranger shook his head. We have to find her. His eyes dropped at his name plate on his desk. He was Moon Kong, the popular mobster in the city of Seoul, highly feared, and also the CEO of M Empire that deal on bodyguard recruitment and training. Now he wants Hannah. Would she be able to run away from his den? Is he still alive? She stirred the coffee while thinking aloud. Did he visit the hospital as I instructed? Ever since that night, Hannah hadn't had peace. She had been thinking about the strange, handsome man she had saved. One glance at him, she knew he wasn't someone who would have the time to take care of himself, but why did she care? Hey, are you okay? Hannah's friend, Hajin, a Korean waitress, tapped her as she sat across from her on the table. The cafe was quiet, so they decided to take a break. I have been staring at you by the counter. What are you thinking about? Hajin asked in a sarcastic tone, and Hannah shook her head. Nothing serious. That was how she brushed the topic, because she didn't want to delve deeper into it. It happened in your area. Then, Hajin suddenly gasped, making Hannah to look at her again. What's that? Hannah raised a brow. The popular mob boss. News carried that his team raided his area and may be connected to the missing girls. Hajin paused, leaning closer. This happened in your area. You have to be careful. Don't be deceived by his looks. Hajin added, as if she was letting out a secret. I don't know what you're talking about. Hannah shook her head, then Hajin opened the news on her phone, which caught Hannah off guard. This, she stuttered, unable to structure her words. Do you know him? Hajin questioned, looking interested. He was Moon Kong, the same man she had saved his life on her street that night. Going back home, Hannah branched by the convenience store to pick up a few snack and beer. It was noon, so she didn't have much thought or fear after reading the news. But she suddenly developed one when she noticed a figure following her from behind. She tried not to let it get to her, but when she had turned 3 streets and he was still following her, she almost picked up her pace when a strong arm grabbed her. Ah! She yelled out of fear, but stopped when she saw the figure that stood in front of her. You! Her lips curled. Yes, I'm the one you saved. It was Moon. He stared at her, his gaze almost the same from that night. But how come he was a mob when he looked so calm, judging by his eyes? What do you want? She asked, stepping away from him. I returned because I owe you a favor, he said. I don't need it. It's not like I won't save anyone if it's not you, she said seriously. You treated me and you are not done. You have to complete the task, he said, tucking his hand in his trouser pocket. What has that got to do with me? Go hire a nurse or visit the hospital. Who cares? Hannah scoffed. I want you to come tend to my injury until I recover. You are allowed to treat only me from now on. Hannah found his words amusing, thus she laughed at it. Are you okay? Do I look like a nurse? She paused, crossing her arms. What makes you think I will agree to something this insane? She asked anxiously. Because I'm leaving you with no choice. He spoke seriously. And what if I disagree? Will you kidnap or kill me like your title proposes? She asked, sounding disgusted, and he smirked. Good thing you did your research. He let out a soft chuckle. Hannah never took his words serious, even though it disturbed her for that night and felt like she was being watched. She thought he was joking, but her understanding changed when he started visiting her place of work with his men. He would also be on shades, his men flocking around him. She noticed something following her whenever she trashed the waste bin, and even at night, when she looked through her window, she would find one of his men watching her. It was crazy. They were seriously stalking her, and Hannah was done. It was a cold morning. Jean was still dozing in the car when she knocked on the window. He was shocked as he quickly wind down. Take me to him, she said immediately, skipping all pleasantries and looking uninterested in any excuse he might want to come up with. The word, mob, must have given her a different picture of Moon. By the time the car pulled up in the massive, gigantic mansion, Hannah could only gasp. She thought he was kidding. Mob reside in hiding, like in warehouses. What was he doing in something so? Let's go in. Her thought was interrupted by Jean as he led her through the luxurious hallway. Their feet echoed in the hall, and when they got to the magnificent living room, Moon's men were lined up. They were 4 and Jean, making them 5. Boss lady. They bowed in unison as soon as they saw her, and she looked at them in confusion. Boss lady? She was still staring at them dramatically when Moon walked in. All these while, she hadn't been able to have a clear look at him. Else why couldn't she breathe suddenly at the sight of him? He looked so handsome and muscular, draped in his turtleneck top, under his suit, looking so tall and heart-wrenching hot. You finally came. He sounded excited, like one who had been waiting for her all day. What do you want from me? She fired at him as soon as he walked close. They stood in the living room, and his men gave them some privacy shortly. I want you, didn't I make myself clear? He asked, curling his lips. I saved your life, and that's it. What else do you want from me? She cried out. Your time. You are interesting, and I would love to know more about you, he said. I don't want to regret saving you, young man, she grunted. Then don't. He walked closer, closing the gap between them. Stay with me for 2 weeks, and if you don't find me interesting, you can leave. Then, he leaned over to her shoulder, his breath causing shivers to rush up her spine. I will make you fall in love with me, he whispered. This is ridiculous. I haven't even had time to think about all this. Besides, I'm not with my clothes. It was when she finished speaking that she realized what she said. Did she really want to stay with him? He turned to her. My men will get those for you, he said. I'm with my keys and… No need for that. I bought your entire apartment. I'm your new landlord. Hannah's jaw dropped. When did all these happen, and why did he desperately want her? It's been 3 days since Hannah started staying with Moon, in his mansion with his men. No doubt, they treated her nicely and always called her the new nickname, Boss Lady. They cleaned after her, washed the dishes, prepared breakfast, and made her life easy. Hannah enjoyed this treatment, but she almost forgot the main reason why she came and how she intended to leave. Moon had given her no reason for a job. He would take care of everything. All she had to do was take care of him. Sounds crazy, but she had no choice. That evening, she was the only one at home. They had all gone to work since they worked in Empire. She decided to prepare supper for them to reciprocate their kindness. Thankfully, they had all the ingredients, so she whiled her time away preparing the meal. Just a few minutes after she was done, the doorbell rang consistently, and before she could even look at who was there, the door pushed open. It was Jean holding Moon around his shoulder. Again, Moon was bleeding. Bring him here. She could barely gasp as she assisted Jean to pull him over to the armchair in the living room. Is he always getting into fight? At this rate, he has to visit the hospital, she complained as she started taking off the clothes that hinder her path. His men were anxiously watching her. Their boss was unconscious, so they weren't in a good mood. I will treat you all later. Go have some soup that I prepared. She tried to send them away, but they didn't move. When will he wake up? Jean asked anxiously. I can't tell. Maybe you should advise your dear boss to stop getting into fight. She started treating his injury. It wasn't a fight, Jean said, sounding provoked. Then, why don't you want to take him to the hospital? She asked. Because no hospital will treat him, Jean stated. Yeah, I'm not surprised. He's a criminal, as they say, she muttered under her breath. Do you also believe that? Jean asked, sounding curious. Boss isn't a criminal, the other men cried out. She stood up, staring at them. By now, she had properly dressed Moon's injury. What should I believe? She asked. He only saved a young lady who was about to be assaulted by a man, but they misunderstood the situation and beat him up. He intentionally didn't want to fight back. Jean annoyingly explained the situation to her, even though he was rash. Similar thing happened. He saved a child being trafficked, but was stabbed by the child because the other men were still recalling Moon's past encounter when Moon groaned, grabbing Hannah's hand. Don't bore her with those stories. He tried to sit up, but she quickly stopped him. Lie for now, your wound might open. Did I scare you? He sounded so warm. I have to treat the others. He cupped her face just as her words landed. His men quickly turned away while she wondered what was going on. It was almost too late when he kissed her, their lips sealed tightly. Something salty, warm, tasty. She couldn't pull away from him, and when she did, she regretted it. What was… Her cheeks felt so hot. She had seen it in dramas, but she never had thought something like that would happen to her. I warned you, didn't I? You are allowed to treat only me and no one else, he whispered, their faces still closer. Moon attempted to go in for another kiss when Jean cleared his throat. Shame caught up with Hannah. She quickly grabbed the kit and rushed into her room. All through the night, Hannah tossed and turned on the bed. She couldn't sleep. What had she gotten herself into? She touched her chest, and it was beating so fast. It wasn't fear. That she knew very well, it was something she was quite afraid to admit. The following days were bustling for Moon and his men. They barely had time to stay at home, but Hannah tried to be useful by making them breakfast. Sometimes, she would send them over with cute notes to Moon which would make him smile the entire day, unknown to her. Slowly, Hannah found out a different side of Moon that the public didn't know about, and he never tried to explain himself or stop being nice to whoever was weak. That evening, she sat alone in the living room, thinking about everything when Moon stepped in. She didn't even notice him until he spoke, not sleeping, and she looked up, forcing a quick smile. "Not sleepy yet," she said as he sat beside her on the armchair. "What are you thinking about?" He broke the silence and she faced him, a mix of both shame and attraction. "About you, about us." She paused. "I don't know what you want," she added. "I want you, Hannah." "Aren't my intention obvious?" he asked warmly, and she shook her head. "We are different," she reminded him sadly. "Because of the color?" he scoffed. "Don't you care?" "I mean, I'm a nobody. A black. I won't give you anything in return." She felt so dumb as she rambled these words. Immediately, he cupped her cheek, their eyes locked. "Do I look like I care about what the world says?" "I want you, and I love you, Hannah. When I said, I owe you, what I meant was that I owe you my life." Hannah's eyes widened at his words. "You." She hadn't been able to complete her words when he sealed her lips with a tight kiss, filled with desperation and affection. Hannah buried herself in the kiss, gently closing her eyes as they kissed deeply and passionately, his hand grazing her chin. "I want to spend the rest of my life with you, Hannah. Can we make that possible?" Their forehead rested on each other as they remained seated, inhaling each other's lustful breath. I love you too, Moon. I think it all started from when I first touched you," she said through her chuckles, and Moon laughed shortly. "Then, let me be the only man in your life from now on." He pulled her into a warm embrace, and for a long time since she arrived in Seoul, it felt like she was alive. "I have a surprise for you." His words made her pull away, and she faced him. "What's that?" she asked, searching his eyes. "Your auntie. I have found her for you," Moon said, and Hannah gasped, closing her mouth. "You did. And I will keep closing every patch in your life from now on, Hannah. Whether black or white, you are mine," Moon said lovingly, and she dived into another tight embrace, her eyes almost wet. Did he know how long she had been searching for her auntie? "I love you so much, Moon," he snuggled her up, stroking her back. Though their future was bleak, but Hannah was sure of one thing. She had found her true destination, and if there were any storm, with their hands together, they would trust each other and overcome it together forever.